How about if I just start at the beginning? you could be honest.
Because you know what? They have the sweat equity that went into that memory that they're making with their friends and family. And that's what's important with this. And that's what the I Am Real World's about.
Well, that's a great question. You know, one of the best things about a spring food plot is you get a second chance if it fails.
Chasing Giants with Don Higgins. Brought to you by buyafarm.com, your source for farm, recreational properties, rural homes, and more. By tapping into Don's years of experience, dedication, and commitment, Chasing Giants focuses on the techniques, strategies, and dedication needed to harvest one of God's most amazing creations, world-class whitetails. Now, here is Don and co-host Terry Peer.
Well, welcome everybody. 2020. We have a new year on us. How you doing, Don Higgins?
Good, Terry. How are you?
Good. I'm going to cut right to the chase, man. What a ATA show this year. We just got back and we wanted to do a podcast to kind of go over some things that we learned, some opportunities that we had, but wow, what a show.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The response in the real world booth from customers or potential dealers in regards to our new release this year, the real world giant Miscanthus, was better than I could have ever imagined. I'm going to guess we probably had at least 5 or 6 times more requests for dealer information than we've ever had at an ATA show. So I was really happy.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we got more dealer leads, meaning people who wanted pamphlets and understand what our pricing was and how to become a dealer at this show than every other ATA show we've ever been to combined. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it by far.
No doubt about it. No doubt. And our Miscanthus was pretty much one of the talks of the show. I mean, people were coming by to see it because they'd heard about it. Well, your social media campaign was fantastic. That got the buzz started, but the buzz at the show just kept going.
So a lot of big things for real world, and I'm gonna call timeout talking about real world right now. But for Chasing Giants, we got a lot of positive feedback, and I want to thank everybody that even if they weren't coming to the Real World booth to talk about becoming a dealer for Real World, they came by and grabbed one of us or both of us and thanked us for the podcast, and that really does mean a lot. So those of you who took the time to come over and say something, thank you very much for supporting Don and I in this venture. We're kind of new to it, but it's nice to hear positive feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. I even had people stopping me in the hallway and the aisleways, telling me to keep up the good work with the podcast. So really appreciate everyone's support.
So we're kicking off a new year. It's 2020. I saw on social media today, it looked like today is January 14th, I believe. You're in between some land consultant jobs, and you were out on the farm working on some of your projects. So we're already kicking off next year. We got a lot of big things planned for Real World, for Chasing Giants, and for our personal hunting goals that we hope that are going to be followed by everybody through this year. This is going to be an exciting year. We got some surprises that are coming along the way. But even at ATA, some really big opportunities were starting to be in the works for you and I and for Chasing Giants, and we're going to keep those a little quiet for right now, but we got a big year planned.
Yeah, 2020 is going to be a year to remember, no doubt about it. Some big things are coming down the pipe this year, and hope everyone stays tuned into every podcast episode because it's going to get more and more interesting as the year goes on.
Yeah, and we're talking to the point of, we're going to try to do things this year on this podcast platform that no one's ever done before in the hunting industry, and create stories that no one's ever heard of before. That's the kind of stuff we have cooking, and we kind of vaguely talked about it, but there's just some great opportunities for us to showcase the storyline. So I'm really, really excited. So what we want to do in this episode, Don, you and I have talked about it, for the sponsors that we have of Chasing Giants, we actually asked them to come by the Real World booth to talk a little bit about what's new with them. So these segments that we did with our sponsors, they're anywhere from like 6 minutes to 10 minutes long, and we don't want to drag this one podcast out for an hour and 40 minutes. But this stuff's pretty neat because they're talking in nuts and bolts about their product that they were releasing, and we think it's an important message. So we want to divide it into 2 podcasts. So episode 12 and episode 13 are going to come out back-to-back, right?
Yeah, back-to-back days. We're going to air those interviews that we did at the ATA show with our sponsors, but to keep it interesting, we're going to break those up also with submitted questions by our listeners. So that seems to be really popular with the people that, or from what I heard from the people I talked to. So we want to keep those submitted questions coming, and I'm telling you, they just keep rolling in, but we're going to do those between each of the interviews with our sponsors on the next 2 podcasts.
And you've even got a biofarm.com property for both episodes, even though we're going back-to-back. So the format this week is going to be a little bit different. We hope you sit tight and listen to what our interviewers have to say. We're going to bring each of them to a headset from ATA and go over what's new, what's innovative, what they're bringing to the market, and then we'll have our listener submitted question in between. But up first, we got Lone Wolf Tree Stands. All right, back at ATA 2020, we got our buddies Caden and Frank Archie, the infamous Frank Archie.
Oh, stop, bro.
From Lone Wolf Tree Stands. Thanks for stopping by, guys. It's always a pleasure to see you all.
Yeah, thanks
You
for
as well,
having
Terry.
us.
You as well, Don.
Yeah, thanks for stopping in, guys.
So, ATA is always a busy time for everybody, especially the manufacturers. You guys always have a big booth. You have your poles sitting out in the middle, so all of your tree stands are up hanging to give buyers and people walking through an exact look at how these things are going to hang on the tree. Lots of displays out so they can feel how light they are. But walk us through what you guys are introducing at the show and what your messages are at the show this year for everybody that couldn't come.
Well, first of all, our tree stands are made here in the U.S. of A., as everybody knows. We don't have anything coming out really that's new. We did make some adjustments on our Alpha platform, with the exception of removing the past bow holder that was in it.
Gotcha. So still the same still the same overall tree stand, but I went over and looked at it the other day. That platform, so basically that cast base that you're all famous for, that gives us a lot of rigidity, security, and no noise. The pattern, for people that don't understand, the pattern of that grid where that bow holder and wolf is, that area is different on the design now,
yeah,
right?
it was removed. It was originally it was designed to hold the majority of all parallel limb bows, but as bow companies change, we're unable to keep that promise to everybody that your bow will fit that bow holder.
People are changing limbs and bows every year.
day. Exactly. So. But we are going to eventually come out with some accessories for the actual for a bow holder.
Right.
We'll be able to use a compound bow. There'll be one for recurve. There'll be one for a crossbow,
gun,
crossbow,
Yeah,
and
there'll
gun.
be one for a gun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what makes it so light is, for people that don't understand, a piece of welded platform or steel or TIG welded aluminum, your guys' base is cast. So that's one piece of rigid aluminum.
Yep. So you're not getting any of that extra added creaks and pops from the welds.
Pops, or these tree stands set out for long periods of time in bad weather. That welded area on a steel stand is always going to rust quicker and let moisture inside that tube. We don't have to worry about the integrity of that stand when it's all cast one piece. but because it's so light with those big, holes that people stand on, the guys using maybe a monopod or anything like that, this new base will open the opportunity for you all to give accessories to it.
Exactly.
Don, I was with you the first time. You'd seen Lone Wolf stands, but we hung a set together this summer, and it was the first time by yourself that you used those climbing sticks. And, and you wouldn't quit talking about them the whole way up the tree about how fantastic this was as you went up.
I'd never climbed a tree that fast, but they were solid. Once you got them locked in place, they were solid. They weren't going anywhere. I like the way they grip my boots. They're real rigid. They got a rough surface where your boot's not going to slide off of it. And when you got the best stuff out there, you don't need to come out with new stuff every year.
Right.
Exactly. I think
one of the things that I like about the climbing sticks, I don't know every single ounce of your all's marketing and outreach, but one of the things that comes in really handy for me when I use your all's sticks up into your stands is I'm a tall guy, and Don and I are known to stretch the limit a little bit in between each stick.
Right.
And then the last stick getting into the stand, especially when we have limbs there that we can use to pull ourselves or everything. And it never fails when you take a set of climbing sticks up that are locked for which side each step is on. You get to the top, and it's the wrong foot to get into the stand.
Right.
And what I really like about your alls is I can go all the way up that tree and put the stand in there, and then on the way down, I can flip each one going to the right orientation so that the next time I go up to that stand. And there's a cap head bolt with a machined radius in that step. So when you rotate it, it locks that
in.
radius locks on that cap head
Right.
bolt. So like if your binoculars, if you're wearing a chest harness or your backpack strap or whatever that you might still have on you going up and down, it doesn't flip that once you turn around and lock it, it kind of is like a detent. And I think that's a big thing that I really like. It's a small thing, but it never fails. Every time I hang a set, it's always the wrong foot. And once I get to the top to get over into that stand.
Right. And another thing, with those sticks, we have that pivoting V bracket on the back.
Right.
So, and all that takes is one little tug down towards, pulling it down, and that pivoting bracket will rotate the way that, in order for it to lock into the bark of the tree.
Right.
So it's very secure.
Well, we're not always climbing telephone poles that are perfectly straight with, no bark. I mean, we're always dealing with situations that it's not the perfect tree,
Right.
Exactly.
to go up in.
Yeah, and our sticks, I can attest that those are our number one selling product, or our climbing sticks.
Yeah.
We just, we do really well on those. This year, our crew will be building year round, just for because of the demand of that stick. So
and people don't lay claim to it as much either. And we're not hanging hunt guys. And I know a large portion of your all's business is the guys that will go into public land and do hanging hunts, and that's a great way to to put an objective out there and go for it. But being able to go in and go quiet. We had two situations inside the Real World family this year. Frank, you've hunted in the area that I hunt in Illinois. You all were down there. I went in real high winds and snow and hung these sticks in this stand right next to a bedding area, and my hunting partner the next morning shot a buck out of it, a huge non-typical. You can't even take a picture of this buck and do it justice.
Wow.
Patrick Simpson laid the absolute hammer on a monster buck. And I'm still convinced to this day that if I would have taken what we've hung in that tree every other year, which would have been a one-piece climbing stick, and then we wouldn't have been able to go that close to the bedding area and hang that. And then a week ago, yesterday or the day before, co-owner of Real World West Delk shot a mid-170s buck that he had been chasing all year. Was driving down the lane to change out batteries in a camera and happened to notice a buck bedding in the woods. Went home, got a Lone Wolf stand and a set of sticks, came back in and got halfway between where he was bedded and a Real World food plot, snuck in there, put that stand up, and shot him when he got up and went to the Deadly Dozen plot. And he was right up against where that buck was. So people don't give you all and your product enough credit that even when you have to put it up, we talk on Chasing Giants all the time. You can't give intrusion or pressure to these deer.
Exactly.
Right.
And
That's why we're known as the silent partner.
Yeah, we want to hang our stands as early as possible, but we've both had situations where we hung stands late this year, and how quiet you can do it means a lot. So, So I'm excited about these accessories, though. A great product line. People don't talk about your climbers a lot either, but the guys who are climber fans, very rigid setup. I use them when we go in, especially in shotgun season when I'm filming for a friend of mine. But great product also.
Well, and another feature on our actual climbers is our low profile look. The packability. It's very low profile. There's no bulk in it. So the distribution of the weight on your back is distributed very evenly.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much what, from our climber standpoint, we're known for that packability system.
Right. So, well, as far as we'll look forward to, I assume you're all going to, through your social media and through your website, going to be introducing those accessories as they become available.
Come out, we will introduce them on our website and let everybody know on social media.
Right. So, you got anything else, Don?
No, I was just going to put Caden on the spot here a little bit. This is
great.
Unscripted questions. There we
go.
Gotta love these.
Welcome to the big leagues. No, I just wanted to talk about Lone Wolf, the company. It's your family owns this company.
Yep.
And we're proud to be partnered with you because of the integrity of your family. There's a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, there's some companies in this building today that I would not use their products if they were free, no matter how good they were, just because of the lack of integrity. But your family, is high integrity people. I know your dad.
Yeah.
Your Uncle Jeff is running the company today, both great guys. And I'd just like to hear from you what it means as a young guy that's going to be working in that, I guess you're going to be working in this family business, what it means to carry on the tradition.
Well, I've kind of grown up in it. I guess we purchased Lone Wolf in 2006, so it's really been all I've known growing up in it. Coming to the ATA show and meeting people. I don't know. I'd like to stay in it, I guess.
Yeah,
it's my passion.
Yeah. So you have big plans of maybe one day running the company when the other guys retire? Or?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes.
You're still pretty young, so you got time to figure out your path in life. But it's kind of neat to see it go from generation to generation.
Yeah.
I've met your grandpa too, so so I know 3 generations of your family. So good people. We're proud to be partnered with you.
Yeah, we're proud to be partnered with you as well.
Well, thank you.
Well, as we sign off, where's the best place to keep up with everything? Because we have to be careful. I'm going to say this politically correct. I want people to be very specific in how they go out and search Lone Wolf and see your products. So
you
give
can
us
find
some
us on
instructions.
Instagram at Lone Wolf Portable Tree Stands, and as well as Facebook at Lone Wolf Portable Tree Stands.
Lone Wolf Portable Tree Stands. All right, guys, we appreciate you guys coming in. We hope you have a really good rest of the show. All right, Don, that was a great segment by Lone Wolf. Super guys, right?
Absolutely. They just kind of epitomize the type of companies that we like to partner with and that we do partner with. They are high integrity people. It's a family-run business. And just real proud to have them on board as one of our sponsors.
It was really cool that, of course, we wanted our buddy Frank Archie to come over to the booth and do it, but it was really cool to see the next generation that they put up front as kind of the spokesperson for the company. I love to see the companies being run by multiple generations, so that was awesome. So why don't we go to our first submitted question for episode 12, and then we'll move on to the next interview.
Yeah, the first submitted question is from Dean Brunnies, who actually came by the booth at ATA, and I spent considerable time visiting with Dean. First time I met him, but he's a big fan of ours. So
thanks for
he said he had submitted a question, so I went in and dug it out of the pile.
Okay.
Dean is from Wentzville, Missouri, and his question says, Don and Terry, I want to thank you for doing these podcasts. I can't tell you how much I look forward to listening to each episode. and applying the discussion and tactics that you and Terry discuss on the different phases of deer season. My question is, can you go into detail how you go about your scent-free protocol prior to deer season? Or prior to sits and going into the field to check cameras, from washing and drying your clothes to how you store your scent-free clothes, boot care. Do you have specific bags to carry your boots to and from your truck? The use of scent-free sprays, ozone products to kill any scent on the clothes, showering, to putting your first layer and dressing the rest of the way in the field, etc. Then after the hunt, reversing the entire process. Bow care, do you wipe down your equipment prior to any your stand sites, etc.? Do you use special scent-free toothpaste or regular toothpaste? Do you spray down prior to going into the field or even do it in your stand? I know you're not trying to bash or sell any particular products, just want to know how you and Terry go through your entire routine because it's working for you. Well, Dean, I hate to disappoint you, but you're going to be absolutely shocked when you hear my scent-free regimen. I watch the wind, and that's it. And Terry will validate what I'm saying. I wash my clothes before hunting season. I put them in a tub along with my boots and my pack that I carry my camera and other gear in, and that's it. I don't wash it again the rest of the season. I don't use sprays. I don't use any of the ozone products or any of the scent eliminating clothing. I watch the wind. If you've got the wind right, there's no way a deer can smell you. And if the wind is wrong, the buck's just simply not going to move. And I think what everybody misses, there was a campaign years ago, forget the wind, just hunt. You cannot forget the wind because a mature buck never forgets the wind. When you're hunting mature bucks and you're wanting to kill them consistently, that means you're killing them on purpose. You know what they're doing. When you set your stand, you know where that buck is going to be coming from. You know which direction he's going, where he's going to, and you know the wind direction that you need to hunt him when he's doing that. And when you get to that level as a hunter, you really don't need those other products. And to be honest, I'm not sure how well a lot of those work. Now, I know they work to some degree, but can they totally eliminate your scent? I just have a hard time buying it. And the reason for it is in years past, I used to use all those products. I mean, I went so far as I even carried a bottle to pee in. And I would just have a fit if one of my articles of clothing got contaminated somehow with some sort of scent, or if I thought it did. But I'm telling you that the more experience I got, the older I got, the more success I had, I realized that it's all the wind, it's everything. And so, again, hate to disappoint you, but I don't use any of those things. It's all on the wind. Terry, you can probably chime in because you probably got a totally different approach than I do. But
yeah, I mean, here's the thing: the further along in my hunting career, the more I rely on the wind more than products or techniques. So I think what you're saying is absolutely right. I probably go to a little bit extra measures than what you do because my properties, as much as I try to set them up compared to how you have some of your properties set up, there's still a chance. But what the statement you made I want to circle back to is to be on the right side of that downwind side, right? Whether it's bedding, whether it's food, that's where the buck's going to be. So if you're using a product so you can get to the wrong spot, that's not where the buck's going to be anyway. And people kind of forget that. Even Wes Delks, the your co-owner and partner at Real World, that one mid 170s, what'd that buck score, 176, something like that he shot?
Yeah, I think so.
In January, was on the downwind side when he ended up shooting him coming from bedding area to food. So they're using that wind at all times. That's their wind is our sight. So do I go a little bit more? Yes, I use a scent-free tote. I try not to wash my clothes at all because I just don't want to continue to put the wear and tear and all the chemicals on my clothes, so I try to do that. If I do get an odor on my clothes, I do have an ozone bag that I use instead of washing them that takes that scent out of it. I don't use ozone in the field, right or wrong. I don't like breathing that stuff. I will say something. I am not sponsored by them, but one product that I do believe in is the company's name is Conquest Scents. I do like using the Evercom product. It's like a deodorant stick, and it smells just like deer. And it's not really a cover scent, but it just seems to me that, you know how spooky and jittery does get sometimes? If I get up in the tree stand and I take the cap and just scrape a little bit off and I throw it down, or I put it on the side of the tree when I get up, I don't know. Maybe it's just, I hate it's just not, I wouldn't call it my stupidity, but it just gives me an extra level of a little bit of confidence that it's going to smell like deer when those does walk through. But I don't use it as cover scent, obviously. But that is one product that I use in the field. I don't really spray down with anything, but I try not to wash my clothes as much as possible. But
I'm guessing that Dean is probably pretty shocked at my answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's the bottom line. You got to be in the right spot, and the whole fact of, well, I can use this ozone and be on the buck coming from downwind of me. Well, you're probably in the wrong spot to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too many times deer hunters are looking for products to make up for their lack of hunting skills. And as I've matured and sharpened my hunting skills, I've relied less and less on products. And I think that there's a lot of other veteran hunters that probably could say the same thing.
But part of that question, too, I want you to talk about, he actually said from when we're going to set in the field to when you're checking, or when you're going in the field and when you're checking cameras, you're just as paranoid about that wind when you're checking cameras as you are when you're hunting, and that's important too.
Right.
And you even check it in the rain.
I do, yeah. Or right before a rain, I check cameras. If I know there's a rain coming in, like in the afternoon or something, I get up early and I check as many cameras as I can that morning. But at the same time, I also try to put my cameras in areas where it's not real close to my stands. Sometimes that's not the case, but often, or most of the time, I keep those cameras away from my stands.
Well, and if you have one close to your stand, you're not checking it unless you're hunting.
Right.
All right. Well, that was a good question. We probably took too long to answer it, but that was a good question.
Yeah.
And thanks for the support team. So we're going to transition right now to the Vortex interview, and Vortex came by, and the bad thing about this interview is, Don, you were tied up with a bunch of dealers, and they had a limited amount of time, so you weren't able to join us on this one. But you've been with Vortex since their first ATA show.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was the first person in the hunting industry on the Vortex Pro staff. I walked into the ATA show years and years ago, opening morning of the show, and I stopped at this booth. All they had was basically a couple of tables with a handful of scopes and binoculars laid out. And I had never heard of the company before, Vortex. And the gentleman I met there his name Seamus Terry. And Seamus is still with the company. I still talk to him to this day. But I inquired that morning about being on the pro staff of Vortex, and lo and behold, I was the first one. So it's been a long relationship, and their products just continue to get better with each passing year.
Yeah, and a lot of focus of Vortex is you're not going to beat their price with the quality that they provide, but their customer service and warranty is like no other. So we're going to jump into the Vortex interview and then come back with the buyafarm.com property of the week. Well, welcome back to the 2020 ATA show. I'm sitting here with Ruben Alexson from Vortex Optics, and they got some pretty cool news that is going to be really interesting to our deer hunters and also the guys that kind of like the tactical 3-gun type shooting with a new rifle scope that's out. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, thanks for having us. This week we are announcing the Razor Generation 3 1 to 10 by 24 rifle scope.
Okay.
It's a low power variable optic. They're gaining a lot of popularity in all different types of applications, whether that be hunting, whitetail hunting, hog hunting, predator hunting, and then like you kind of mentioned, the competition shooting or
Sure.
that military law enforcement application too.
So the guys that are real serious hunters for a hunting application, that might be somebody who's hunting in deep timber or thickets where they need a little bit more up close and personal quality optic with low light, but still the power and flexibility to go up and shoot a field edge with a 10 power scope, which is a great power to have for that longer range shot, right?
Yeah, 10 power is regarded as being enough magnification to get you out to some distance.
Right.
Not that it's in the application that it was intended for, but
Sure.
we've taken that optic out beyond 1,000 yards with a rifle.
Somebody
that's
who's
capable.
a whole lot better shooter than me. I can guarantee you
me
that.
too, right?
So a lot of most of our listeners are going to be strictly whitetail hunters and focus on that. But with the popularity of tactical AR rifles and 3-gun, we keep seeing more 3-gun guys that are doing this in the off season and stuff. You said speed, and I think one of the terms I've heard is quick acquisition or being able to get up and get on your target. That's what that 1 power also gives you, right?
Yeah, speed having a few different meanings. You got your initial target acquisition and getting on target, and then follow-up shots if needed.
The famous double tap.
The report pair, and then you've got target transitioning.
Sure.
So having the appropriate field of view and the optical quality of this scope really lends it to be the field of view is really good, but also the eye box, which is that position that your eye is in behind the scope.
Okay,
the eye box is where you get that sweet spot, right, where the optic's not blinking out at you. It's not you don't get that cat eye effect, and then you also don't get shadowing or scope tunneling.
Gotcha.
And so having a very generous eye box with generous eye relief. I've already talked to a couple guys that are going to throw it on like a very big game rifle, like a 375 H&H or something, like 375 Ruger, for taking up to Alaska, and having
so that might help you like in a hunting situation. That might be like a weird angle or something where I'm leaning around a tree or trying to take a shot that I'm not on a perfect rest. With my cheek down in the perfect position, I have more I guess forgiveness there.
Yeah, a lot of forgiveness in that eye box. And that can come from a shooting position, and it can also come from the speed that you need to acquire your target, not getting the gun shouldered properly in your shoulder pocket.
Right.
So, we're really excited about that one. I think it's something that our customer base has been kind of asking of us, and being who we are, we typically try and give people what they ask for.
Well, one of the things Don and I, relay about you guys that is a little bit different that we've appreciated all the years that your staff has helped us with is the customer service side of it.
Sure.
So I know it's a lot of information to take in when you're listening to a podcast or anything, but you guys are the best in the business at when somebody has a question. Like right now I'm building a long-range muzzleloader, a custom muzzleloader that we want to be able to shoot something, with a muzzleloader 500 yards, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That whole optics process is going to take longer for me choosing that than the spec of the gun.
Sure.
Reaching out to you guys and helping me with that decision, or one of our hunters that, they're not going out west and glassing big ravines. They're a whitetail hunter. What series? You guys are the best in the business at helping with that customer support through either the website or through social media.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's we deal with a lot of companies and make recommendations, and customer support is where it's at. Obviously, your price point is good. The quality, the price point's better than anybody, but the quality and lifetime warranty is phenomenal. But if a guy's just got a general question, he's new to optics, or he wants to pick the right thing for what he's doing, what is the best way for him to reach out to Vortex? Is it through social media, or is it through website, or does it matter?
I think what we did several years ago is kind of look at where people are at and try and be there.
Yeah.
And so if you want to give us a phone call, I mean, the only thing that's going to limit you with a phone call is just our operating hours, right?
Your office hours.
8 to 5, right? Central Standard Time. But the guys and gals in social media and marketing are going to be watching the forums. They're going to be watching Instagram messaging. They're going to be watching Facebook. All times of the day. And then we've got a function on our website where you can message us to and chat with an expert.
And one of my favorite things that you're all doing right now as an outreach to your all's following is your all's 10-minute talk podcast.
Yeah.
That is really informative. It's short to the point for the people that have the quick commute to work or maybe they're on break or lunch. Talk a little bit about that and what your all's kind of strategy is with that program, because you bounce around a little bit. One day you're talking about cooking, and one day you're talking about long-range tactical shooting, depending on who's in the room.
Yeah, the Vortex Nation podcast is we try and make it all about the customer, and so you'll hear a lot of our guests are actually just the people that are out in the field using our stuff, right?
Right.
And I think focusing on topics that people ask us about, so that's probably why it jumps around a little bit, is because one day somebody wants to learn about holographic sights, and then the next day somebody wants to learn the best way to smoke a tenderloin or something like that. So we try and
you know a guy no matter what the question is that what you're saying?
Jimmy and Mark are really good at coming down into the office and be like, all right, who wants to talk about this? And it's usually the guy who brought in the really good tenderloin one day. That's usually who they go and ask.
I got it.
But yeah, no. Check it out. It's a Vortex Nation podcast. I think it's probably everywhere that podcast content is available.
I actually watch it on Instagram.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Not. Yeah, so
10-minute talks are a cool format too, like you said.
It's just in and out quick with some information. So we really appreciate you guys supporting Chasing Giants, but most of all, the product is what we rely on. But it's because of that customer service. There's good products everywhere if you look hard enough for them, but if you have people that stand behind them and can help you make the right decision. And I'm really excited about this muzzleloader, and I'm going to be bugging you guys to death on what the right decision is.
To hear how it turns out. That'll be fun.
Yeah, so stay tuned, and we'll be back from ATA. Well, I know, Don, you're not a big rifle hunter, but you do enjoy shooting coyotes when you have the opportunity, and that new scope seems pretty cool from Vortex for the guys that are in that situation where they need quick acquisition or a quick follow-up shot. So thanks for coming in, Vortex. We really appreciate the longevity of the relationship they've had with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's transition into the buyafarm.com property of the week.
Buyafarm.com is your source for farm, recreational properties, rural homes, and more. Now, here is Don Higgins with this week's featured property.
This week's featured property from Buy a Farm is 60 acres in Jackson County, Illinois, near the town of Elkville. There's an area known as Campbell Pond just outside of Elkville. It offers some of the best duck and goose hunting in the area. And this property butts right up to that pond. In fact, there's some water on both the western and northern borders of this property. A small portion of this 60 acres has been timbered, but the majority of the property still has marketable timber on it. This area is a sportsman's paradise with deer, waterfowl, turkey, and small game. Nearly all the properties in this Campbell Park area are privately owned, so there's only so much of this available around the pond. It's not very often that these properties come available, especially these properties that touch the water. So if you're interested in this property, you want to call Agent Mark Kennedy. Mark's phone number is 618-924-1747. Again, this is in Jackson County, Illinois, which is in southern Illinois. 60 acres. Call Mark Kennedy, and he'd be glad to show it to you.
It sounds like the waterfowl hunter's paradise right there.
Yeah, pretty much. And with the timber, there's got to be plenty of deer and turkey, I would suspect, as well.
Yeah, and if depending on the areas around it, you put in a couple food plots, and you could have a little sanctuary right there and hold some bruisers if you're a whitetail hunter. So
yeah, right.
Is that property on the buyafarm.com website?
Yes, it is.
All right,
you can find it there. Just look for the 60 acres in Jackson County.
Jackson County. All right, sounds great. Let's move to the next submitted question, and then before we do an interview with Wes Delks at Real World.
All right, the next submitted question is from Benjamin Murray. He's from, I hope I get this town right, East Mauritius, New York.
Moriches. I don't know how you pronounce that.
I'm not sure how either. But anyway, Benjamin's from New York. And this is a question that is going to have you scratching your head, folks. But
All right.
it is a legit question that we actually got. Benjamin says, "Let's talk poop."
No way.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually did.
Let's
He
talk
says,
poop.
Is buck poop always clumped up together, or is it ever individual pellets? I am still newer to hunting, and I've been told the big cylinder clumps of poop are always bucks. While scouting, this could make the difference of zeroing in on an area because there is a big buck around versus just accepting that a mature deer of either sex was there. I figured since Don has had his own deer herd, he can confirm this or finally put this debate to rest. Thank you, guys. I appreciate all the help and advice you guys provide each podcast.
Well, before you answer this question, I want to say something real quick about Benjamin. We might laugh at the openings, but I appreciate the fact that a new hunter wants to learn and that he's trying to. I mean, the old thing about there is no stupid question. There is some truth to that, but I appreciate the fact that even though we're laughing at the question, that it was kind of funny how he worded it. That he came out and then he's heard something out there and. It's probably on the internet, so it's got to be true that he brought it to you. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, and actually, I've heard other hunters talk about this subject before. I see those big clumps where the pellets are kind of bound together, and they say it's a buck. Well, that's not necessarily the case. I think I know it has more to do with the diet that the deer, what it's been feeding on. As to how it comes out the other end. So to get right to the point, Benjamin, to answer your question, there's no way to tell if a pile of poop is from a buck or a doe. And that's just the simplest way to put it.
And we'll refrain from making comparisons to humans and diet to relieve everyone. But hey, good question. You gotta ask. So
that's right.
All right, so Benjamin, for his poop question, is going to get a free T-shirt.
That's what I was going to say, Benjamin. You got a T-shirt coming. Thank you.
So let's talk real world a little bit, and you got a new partner that's been with Real World a little over a year, and Wes is a young guy with a lot of energy. The thing that I appreciate most about him when we're in a trade show, he sees a guy like. Not stop and look in the booth, but like stutter step, and Wes is on him. He's got the energy that we don't have anymore to work trade shows, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He's about the polar opposite of me. I mean, if I sell somebody something, they've got to want to buy it pretty bad. So, I'm not a salesman whatsoever. And I wouldn't say Wes is a salesman. He's just a good people person. He's got the gift to gab, and he sees somebody that shows the least amount of interest in his company or a product that his company sells, and Wes is on it.
And it didn't hurt that he was a week out from shooting his first booner either, so he was still on a little bit of cloud nine. I saw him pulling his phone out and showing pictures quite a bit, so I'm happy for him, and he had a great show and had a great season. So let's transition to the interview with Real World Wildlife Products and General Manager Wes Delks. Well, ATA 2020 is coming up to almost a wrap. It's Saturday afternoon, and Real World, our booth, has hosted most of the podcast segments for this show. But I finally cornered Wes Delks down, our general manager, and it has been a busy, busy show. You've been talking Miscanthus till you're blue in the face, haven't you, buddy?
It has been. We've had a great response, Terry. Everybody that walks into our booth wants to hear about the wall that won't fall down.
Yeah, so, I wish I would have even had a perspective of how popular this has been, not only from an engagement from social media on the internet, how many orders we've already received on it, but then also the dialogue that's coming into the booth, to talk about it. And it's really given you an opportunity to tell the real-world message across all of our product lines with a new product that's come. So if you have to give the elevator speech for the Miscanthus, what are the 3 or 4 top highlights that this gives a land manager for a roadway screen, for an access into a tree stand, or maybe even just a way to funnel deer because they're going to use that edge? What's different about this than anything they can find?
Yeah, Terry, you talked about it a little bit already, but what makes our product a little bit different than what the other products that are out there that are currently screens is a lot of those annual screens, they fall over by late November, early December. They're only about 4 foot tall.
Right.
Our product, it's very, very winter standable. It also has a lot better middle leaf mass than some of the other Miscanthuses that are out there. Which makes it a wall even quicker than some of the other ones.
Well, and the key thing about that is you don't have to plant as wide of a screen. If we're using this as an access to get into a stand, the last thing we want is a buck bedded in that screen itself. Right. And when you use switchgrass, Egyptian weed, or any other annuals, you kind of have to plant it pretty wide of a screen, and it could actually hold deer right next to your food plot or right next to the road. And we want a product that you can plant a small strip, narrow strip, 3 to 5 rows, that's really not going to hold deer in it.
Exactly. If you're looking for bedding cover, this isn't the product. If you're looking for bedding, you'd be looking at switchgrass or bedding in a bag. But it's been interesting, Terry, talking with people at the show at some of the different ideas out there of what this product can be used for, creating pinch points, creating structure in native grasses. You and I aren't exactly sneaky guys, so we need that extra wall.
I'm a ninja, man.
Okay, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but I'll take all the help I can get.
So, one of the things that we want to address with everybody, that there hasn't been many people talk about it, and we have to use this as an education opportunity like we do any of our other products, and that is Miscanthus being invasive. And to be completely honest with everybody, you have to be careful because there is some varieties of Miscanthus that are invasive. But talk to us a little bit about how you educated yourself through the testing process over this last year, and even dialogue with different universities of why this is different, so people have a peace of mind of what they're buying.
Yep. When we decided that this is the variety that we wanted to use, we talked with multiple universities, and when we made the decision to go with the variety that we're using, have followed up with those universities, talked with different plant breeders, and have had discussions with them, and that have been ensured that this is not an invasive.
And there's actually certification processes that this has to go through to verify it, and it's not just a food plot company and deer hunters like us. This is certified from universities and from test labs that's regulated well beyond the outdoor industry of what this stuff is. So completely sterile. It will not seed or germinate from the seed head above, but only a little bit of spread, maybe 1.5 to 3 inches from that rhizome root ball every year.
Right. So the seed head's sterile, and from that rhizome, it's going to spread out a little bit, but, it's going to stay within a clump like an ornamental grass would in a backyard.
So I think we'd be remiss if we don't broadcast this, but not only customers, but people who are looking to become a dealer of real world. We're looking to expand dealer networks. How do they get more information about being a real world dealer or buying real world products? What's the best way to find it?
If you want to be a real-world dealer, you can just shoot me an email at wes@realworldwildlifeproducts.com. The fantastic thing about the show, Terry, is we've had a lot of people that have come up to our booth to talk about Miscanthus, and they want to sell that product. They want to sell Miscanthus, but then the conversation has gone to, here, let me tell you about our Generation 2 soybeans, or what makes some of our other products different, and gotten their attention with the wall that won't fall down, but then they're leaving the booth excited about the other things as well.
Right. So Wes at realworldwildlifeproducts.com, and then to purchase our product, obviously we have an online store where we've taken a lot of Miscanthus orders already, but also other our products. But we do have a dealer locator where you can type in your zip code and it will plot out your dealers, and we'll keep that updated. The other thing that you're kind of coordinating with our dealers is when they go to a trade show and commit to a booth to have our products in it, we're going to have that on our booth or on our website also. So you can look at trade show schedule and see our dealer shows, so you can pick it up and maybe save some shipping. So You got anything else you want to say?
Nope. Thanks for having me on, Terry.
All right. Take care, Wes, and hope you have the rest of a good show.
Thanks.
Yeah, Wes is a special guy. We're lucky to have him as part of the team now.
Yeah, we are. I wrote recently in a blog article about each of the different members of the Real World team, and everybody brings something totally unique to this group. It would be hard to replace any of us because everybody is just so unique, but we all work good together as a team, and the company just continues to grow. And I think we got big things ahead of us in the future.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt. Now, Don, he's going to get mad at me. We'll find out real quick if he listens to this podcast, because there was a rumor going around at ATA that there's actually a billboard of Wes Delks on I-70 somewhere in Indiana between Indianapolis and Terre Haute. I don't know if it's true, but you and I heard that as a rumor while we were at the ATO show, didn't we?
We did, and I don't know if it was a joke or what, but somebody was saying he was an underwear model.
Yep. So Wes will know for sure whether you listen to this podcast, whether or not you picked up on that, because I'm sure we'll get a text message as soon as he listened to it if he did. So with that, Don, we're going to try not to cut off too abrupt, but why don't you close us out and introduce episode 13 and who we're going to be talking about in episode 13.
Well, episode 13 is going to be similar to this one. We've got a couple more companies that we talked to, which will be Matthews and Quiet Cat. So you'll want to make sure that you tune into that. We also have a Biofarm Property of the Week on that one. And again, it's going to be released right after episode 12, this one. So we can kind of get the ATA information out there in a timely manner. But that should pretty much wrap it up for episode 12.
All right, stay tuned for tomorrow when we release episode 13. But as always, we'll go ahead and mention all of our sponsors: Rural Wildlife Products, Vortex Optics, Matthews Archery, Lone Wolf Tree Stands, 360 Hunting Blinds, and Quiet Cat. And for those of you guys wondering, 360 Hunting Blinds was not at ATA, so that's why we didn't get a segment with them. So stay tuned tomorrow for episode 13. We'll be right back with you.